So the full roster is now here for the Indiana Fever with Damiris Dantas, who had previously not been in the States because she was suffering from visa issues. She has now been allowed to enter the States, and as you can see here, Damiris Dantas is back in Indiana. The thing is, when it comes to Damiris Dantas, I think there's always going to be the positive and the negative when it comes to Dantas and people's opinions of Dantas. The negative, she's been really bad. Like she was very poor in her first season with Indiana. But I think a lot of people wrote it off because she showed up injured and she was evidently like slow. And she lost a whole bunch of weight coming into year 2. And then she forgot to shoot. She doesn't really know how to roll. I know. We're trying to find the positives here with Damiris Dantas. The positives is that she's on a minimum contract. And worst case scenario, she is a perfectly acceptable backup. Or third stringer. She is an acceptable third stringer. Yeah. That is what I'll say. She is a perfectly acceptable third stringer. And to get that player on a minimum deal is okay. On a 2-year minimum deal. One thing, the thing with that is her contract is almost certainly guaranteed. Because it is a multi-year deal. And a lot of people are like, oh, will they cut Dantas? I don't think they are actually able to cut Dantas. A lot of people are asking for Maisha Hines-Allen to be cut after yesterday. I'm just saying with Maisha Hines-Allen, she does what she feels like. And that's the only thing I will say about MHA. Is that sometimes good, it's a Jose Mourinho meme. Not Mourinho. Was it Gattuso? Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. I think it was Gattuso, was it? Sometimes maybe good. Yeah, it was Gattuso. That's the case when it comes down to Maisha Hines-Allen, is that she's going to have good games. She's going to have some games where she's the worst player on the floor. The good thing is that the Indiana Fever are good enough that she can, unlike the Wings, where she can sit on the bench if she's being the worst player on the floor. But it is now one of these things where Damiris Dantas is a kind of key player for what the Fever are, for the Fever this year, because she's going to have to back up Aaliyah Boston, which is not an easy job to do. Like, backing up Aaliyah is not something that it's not like a thing that's going to be easy for anyone to do, especially this version of Aaliyah. And she's going to be duking it out with Mo Billings, Maisha Hines-Allen, and KK Timpson for minutes. And look, she's a player who played her way in and out of rotation last year. But if you ever watch Damiris Dantas when she's playing for Brazil, she's the best. She's the greatest player in the world. It's FIBA Patty Mills. She is FIBA Patty Mills. 22 points per game in World Cup qualifying. 21.4 points per game in AmeriCup. Like, she averaged 22 points per game. And it's not like this Brazil team had nobody. If you're looking, she plays Belgium were pretty decent. But if you look at the Brazil team, second top scorer, 7 more points than Camila Cardoso. She averaged 7 boards and was third on the team in blocks per game. Like, she was by far the best player on the team with Camila Cardoso as well. They went 2 and 3. They didn't make it, did they? I don't think they made it. I think it was China, wasn't it? Did Czech Republic make it? So Belgium, China, and Mali made it. Did Brazil lose to Mali? No, they beat Mali. Lost to China. Lost to Czech Republic by 21. What did Emma Chekova have in that game? It was a young player 21-year-old who the Lynx signed, and the Fever just said, you know what, nah. Chekova had 12. But either way, like, once Dantas puts on the Brazil jersey, she becomes... And by the way, when I said what did Chekova have, she had 12. Dantas had 30 in that game. Like, Dantas had 30 against Czech Republic. She had herself. What did she have? in other games. She had 30 against Czech Republic, 25 against South Sudan, and 26 against China. In a game where had they beaten China, they would have made the World Cup. So, like, she had some big, big games there. She had some real big games. And, look, this is a player that, worst case scenario, she's a good locker room player. A good locker room presence. And that is, like, the worst of the worst, is that she's a good locker room presence. If she ends up stinking it up, she's good to just have there. The problem is that when you've got that choice that the Indiana Fever have to make now between Passat and, well, likely between Passat and and KK. So it becomes really, really tough when it comes to Justine Passat versus KK Timpson. That being said, like, Dantas and Maisha Hines-Allen being on guaranteed deals means it's like, do the Indiana Fever need to stock up on more bigs, or do the Indiana Fever need to stock up on big wings? And that's really where the question comes down to. But when it comes down to it, Damiris Dantas is realistically going to be there in the Fever. She's going to be there for them to start. I think she might genuinely be a in the rotation game one. And look, if Dantas is hitting her shots, cool, it's a stretch big. Problem is that Dantas has not been really hitting her shots the last while. So yeah, I am hoping in general that Dantas ends up coming and Dantas ends up being a real positive force for the Indiana Fever. And there's always a chance of that happening, and I do hope that is the case. I hope when it comes down to it, Damiris Dantas goes and has a really positive impact for the Fever, and she shoots like she did in 2021 and moves like she did in 2024 and moves like she did in 2025. That would be an ideal scenario for the Fever. I just don't know if that happens with Damiris Dantas. I really don't know if it happens. On a plus side, anyone who's been fan of this channel long enough knows every time I complain about Dantas being on the floor, she scores. Anytime I'm like, you know what, yes, Dantas is going to be good, she stinks it up. It is, I don't know. Like, it is one of these things where, it's always odd when I predict something, the opposite normally comes true. As seen by the fact that over the course of the year, I predicted the Indiana Fever on a game-by-game basis. I predicted the Indiana Fever to go 24 and 20. Every single game I predicted throughout the year, I predicted Indiana Fever to go 24 and 20. I predicted, based on my game-by-game prediction, I had the Indiana Fever with the exact same record. I predicted 36 of 44 games wrong. So yeah, me predicting Dantas won't be great. She's probably going to win MVP.